There are few people in the world who make a cool, rational decision about suicide. Well, that's exactly what euthanasia is. It's a physician-assisted suicide. Euthanasia is the intentional killing by act or omission of a dependent human for his or her own alleged benefit. Society should not approve the act of euthanasia as a way of promoting general happiness. There are many religious arguments as well as ethical and practical arguments against the act of euthanasia, but I see there could be no positive arguments for it. There are some religious arguments that include euthanasia is against the will of God. Religious people don't argue that we can't kill ourselves or get other people to do it for us. God gave us free will, and that's their argument. The argument is that it would be wrong to do so. To kill ourselves or to get someone else to do it would be to deny God and to deny His right, our lives, and the length and the way it ends. But there's not only religious arguments against euthanasia, there's also ethical arguments. Euthanasia might not be in the person's best interest. There's lots of different ways out, to include medicine. Person can go and get therapy. Euthanasia is definitely, without a doubt, not the period at the end of the sentence. They can go get therapy. They could talk to somebody, because I'll tell you guys later in my speech that most people think about suicide or think about the fact that somebody else could take their lives. It's not because of their terminal illness, but because of the depression, because they're terminally ill. Now, depression is curable, and I'll touch on that later in my speech. It can also be argued that voluntary euthanasia is the start of a slippery slope that leads to involuntary euthanasia. If voluntary euthanasia becomes legal, involuntary euthanasia would not be far behind. It would be uncontrollable, in other words. Doctors might end up killing without permission, and that would be very hectic. Accepting euthanasia accepts that some lives are worth less than others. There are also practical arguments. Euthanasia can lead to less good care for the terminally ill. I mean, if people were allowed to kill, or if doctors, for instance, were allowed to pull the plug, then that would mean that why should they further their research? And why should they care for somebody to the extent? Why should they further their care for somebody who's terminally ill when euthanasia is legal? They could just go into the hospital bed and pull the plug and be okay. It's legal. Take them to the morgue. They're done, and it's legal. Euthanasia also undermines the commitment of doctors and nurses to saving lives. Why should they commit to saving your grandmother's life if it's okay to pull the plug? It might discourage the search for cares and treatments of the terminally ill. Say your grandmother or your uncle has cancer or something. Why should that doctor go and search for a cure for cancer when euthanasia is legal? When they could just go to your grandmother or your cousin's hospital bed and pull the plug and it's legal. Why should they go try to find a cure for cancer? It also might expose vulnerable people to the pressure to end their lives. It might, for instance, morale pressure to free up medical resources. You know, if there's a vulnerable person with a terminally ill disease and they know that they're going to die, they might tell the doctor, say, hey, I'm going to die anyway. I'm going to go ahead and let you pull the plug on me so I can free up this hospital bed for somebody else to sleep in, for somebody who really needs the care. You know, I don't think that's a good plan. The terminally ill person's life is not any less valuable than somebody who might live. Patients who are abandoned by their family and think that euthanasia is the only way. That's another good example. They might feel depressed that their family, left them because they're terminally ill and they're going to die within a couple of months, so they're going to go ahead and tell the doctor that it's okay to kill them. But I still, in my heart, don't feel that that's the right way. Let me give you guys a few statistics. And this is straight out of... Studies have proven that 93 to 94% of those committing suicide suffer from some sort of identifiable disorder. 47% of those were suffering from schizophrenic panic disorder, of some affective disorder such as depressive disorder or bipolar disorder. Additionally, 25% suffered from alcoholism, while another 15% had some recognizable but undiagnosable disorder. 4% had an organic brain syndrome. 2% were schizophrenic, and 1% drug addicts. And that equals 94%. So, most terminally ill patients don't seek euthanasia because they're ill. Like I said before, but because they're depressed. So like I said, to put it in the layman's terms, 94% of those who want to commit suicide or think that euthanasia is the only way had a mental disorder or some sort of disorder. I mean, they were not mentally healthy. I say again, society should not approve the act of euthanasia as a way of promoting general happiness. I'm going to take this, and I want to read to you guys something that came straight from the International Task Force Euthanasia, and it makes a lot of sense to me, and I hope it makes sense to you. History has taught the dangers of euthanasia, and that is why there are only 2 countries in the world today where it is legal. That is why almost all societies, even non-religious ones, for thousands of years have made euthanasia a crime. It is remarkable that euthanasia advocates today think that they know better than billions of people throughout history who've had outlawed euthanasia. What makes the 50-year-old euthanasia supporters of 2005 think that they can discard the accumulated wisdom of almost all societies of all time and open the door to the killing of innocent people? Have things changed? What has happened in the pain control meds? What has happened to pain control meds? That's what I want to know. Think about it.